Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Todd. Next on our agenda is Ms. Sharma, 844 Somerset Run with an encroachment request. Ms. Sharma, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Well, tell us what you want to do.
So I want to build a fence within the utility and drainage easement. So I this is an encroachment request, basically. So the easement is 10 feet. So, but I want to go within the easement around 7 feet. So I will leave around 3.5 feet in the back.
Okay. Did you receive a copy of a memo from Brock Sears
Yes, I did.
that has the 3 conditions listed there that he's recommending?
Yes, I want to understand. I think I understood the last two. The first one it says the enforcement be constructed to allow for adequate drainage, and if determined by engineering division or from water department that drainage issue has been created. So I did understand that the drainage issue created by me within the where my fence is, or how does that work?
Well, what kind of fence are you building?
I'm doing a shadow box wooden fence.
Okay, so it's essentially a solid fence, so the water doesn't easily flow through it. If correct, it's not like a picket fence, correct?
It's gonna be a picket fence.
Okay.
Shadow box picket fence.
Well, if when your fence crosses over sort of the drainage area there, you just have to keep it clean and so that water can still flow under the fence or through the fence, not get blocked up by trash or debris.
Okay, so when I'm installing the fence, I have to make sure that it's not kind of blocking anything there.
Correct. And then stuff doesn't accumulate around the fence down the road, so that it blocks drainage.
Okay, I got that.
And then from our perspective, kind of the most important one is the second one, where that if there's any work that needs to be done within that easement by either the city or any other utility, and that we have to take the fence down or damage the fence, it's going to be your responsibility to put your own fence back up and take care of it. You understand that?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or issues?
No, I think I'm.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I would move for approval subject to those 3 conditions.
I'll second.
Mr. Colvin, seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm still getting a lot of noise.
Yeah,
That's
it's come
not a
back.
feedback.
Again, if you're not participating immediately on this, please mute your microphone so that we don't get a lot of the background noise. And I think we just took care of it there, at least for a minute. Okay.
That's better.
Next matter is 152 Cappinger Place. We have before us the scene. Is there someone there to speak to this matter? 152 Cappinger Place.
I think I saw him, he was logged on earlier.
Mr. Singh? No. I don't see him currently.
Yeah, he's on here.
Okay. Maybe he's muted. Yeah, I see you there. Mr. Singh, can you hear me? We can't hear you if you're speaking.
He is unmuted.
He is unmuted or muted?
Yeah, no, he's not muted at all, so he should be able to speak.
Okay, Mr. Singh, can you hear me? Well, what a quandary what to do there. See, he's there. Well, why don't we come back to that? Nick Everhart, are you with us, or President South Business Center?
I am here, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you want to do out there?
So we're working on a project at the southeast corner of Commerce Parkway and East Main Street. As a part of the project, it's a industrial warehousing, but the request is to vacate a variable width drainage utility easement. It's located on the south side of the property. And basically, with this design, in order to develop the site, we're going to be relocating the detention basins. So the detention basin will get put on the east-south corner of it, and we vacate the easement so we can develop, and then we'll record a new drainage easement.
Okay. Daniel, anything particular from your office on this?
Nope. No, not at all on this one.
Okay.
I would move for approval, directing the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
I'll second that.
Mr. Rutherford moves, second by Mr. Colvin for approval. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Lineberg's got a couple of them with us tonight. And I saw you on here, Fred. There you are. Let's do let's do phase 1 first. Buildings 1 and 2.
Okay. Southport Buildings 1 and 2, Phase 1. We're asking for acceptance of the improvements, and those include the dirt work and storm, erosion control, streets, sidewalks, monuments, and markers. All the improvements have been completed. We have had all the improvements inspected. The as-built are in, the storm videos are in. And we have provided maintenance guarantees on the streets, sidewalks, and monuments. We're asking you to accept those and then release our performance bonds.
Daniel, we have a memo from Paul Pioni. Looks like a unconditional approval. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
I move for approval.
I'll second it.
Mr. Colvin moves, second by Mr. Rutherford for approval. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And Fred, is phase 2 the same thing?
It's the exact same thing, same performance bonds, same improvements, same release of the performance and acceptance of the maintenance.
I'll move for approval on that.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford, seconded by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Fred. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Is Mr. Singh back with us? Can he hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
I'm here.
Yeah, I can hear. We can hear you now. Thank you. That's good. Tell us what to do.
Doing a fence at the backyard in the easement area, and showing in the map also.
Okay.
So will be a shadow fence, a wooden shadow fence. And
Okay.
my neighbor already has the fence. I'm gonna do the similar one.
Did you receive a memo from Brock Sears with 3 conditions listed?
Yeah, I saw that.
Have you had a chance to review that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve subject to the conditions in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Now let's go to Cherry Tree Walk, Section 2. I'm not sure how to pronounce this guy's name. Is it Kevin Riedel?
Riddle.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it.
You're changing sides on us, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
There.
On the other side of the fence now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give him a hard time then.
I would expect nothing less. So basically what we got, Cherry Tree Section 2, or Cherry Tree Walk Section 2, we're at the 90% built out. So in order to get the last 10% of our building permits, we are requesting that the maintenance bond for erosion control, asphalt surface and tack coat, and the signing of monuments be accepted, and the release of the performance bonds for those 3 items. I did talk to Paul, and I believe that we had a little glitch on the bond that we're working through right now, so I know it'll be a conditional, but we should have the good bonds to him back yet this week.
Okay. Questions for Kevin? Pleasure of the board.
I move for approval, subject to revising that bond.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
You too. See you, buddy.
See ya.
Next is Project Commodore, Peterson Company. Not sure who's, Mr. Cummins, are you representing?
I am.
Good,
How you doing
okay,
this
tell us, we're doing well, thank you. Tell us
Good.
what's going on.
Yeah, so similar to Fred's projects in terms of what we're going in for, acceptance of all the improvements submitted. As-built have been provided, as have video of the storm, and acceptance of the maintenance guarantees and release of the performance guarantees. I believe there were some email transactions last week on this topic, so I think there's a few pending items.
Yeah, revised maintenance guarantee, payment of the balance and due on the inspection and testing, and then the original, the O&M manual. Those are
That's
okay?
correct.
Okay.
Yep, and I have the check here, actually. It's with me, and I should be delivering it tomorrow or Wednesday.
Okay, thanks, John. I'll move that we acknowledge accept the private improvements, acknowledge the completion of those improvements, accept maintenance guarantees, and release performance guarantees subject to receipt of the revised bonds in payment of the general inspection and testing agreement fees, amount, excuse me, the amount of $1,262.80, and receipt of the original O&M manual. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, John. Have a good evening.
All right. Appreciate it.
Mr.
Thank
Hoover,
you.
what was his last name? I'm sorry, John who?
Cummins?
Cummins. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night. Next is Andy Vitale on behalf of McDonald's for Summerfield Crossing. Andy, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Here.
Thank you. We've got 2 things on your agenda. First is the, well, it looks like you got a consideration of the improvements and then a waiver request. Let's do the improvement issue first. What's going on?
So this is a little bit of housekeeping on our end, and I also have Mary Anderson here, with us as well. We have a performance bond that is still outstanding from almost 20 years ago, and we would like to. The work has been done. We would like to get it released, and I believe there should not be anything outstanding, for release of that bond.
Okay.
And Mary, do you have anything to add on that?
No, just the bond's been in place since August of 2000. And so I'm not sure that was before either Andy or my time with this area, but we believe that there's nothing outstanding needed for release.
Correct.
Neil, you confirm that?
Mr. Hoover, that's all correct. The the McDonald's has been there. The project's been completed for 20 years and there aren't any issues.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go ahead and,
I'll move for approval on that.
okay, thank you, Mr. Rutherford.
On the performance guarantee first, is that what we're doing?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay, I'll
Jeff.
second that.
Moved by Mr. Rutherford, second by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Now let's talk about the waiver request. What are we doing, Andy?
So it's my understanding that there was some ongoing maintenance that was required. That it was the suggestion that get waived.
Yeah, this was, if I could chime in, we were not aware of a maintenance guarantee requirement, but we found it on the agenda in correspondence with Daniel Johnson that this was added. So we're not aware of the requirement, but we don't believe there's anything else we need to do. If there is, please let us know.
And given the thing's been in there 20 years, it appears to be okay. Would you confirm that, Daniel?
Right. Yeah, that was our sort of internal staff discussion, just based on the time frame project's been completed. It didn't make a lot of sense necessarily to have that maintenance guarantee requirement. So that is our recommendation, that you approve that waiver request for that.
Okay. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Give that to Mr. Colvin, I think. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Milestone Contractors, Eddie Fitzpatrick. Mr. Fitzpatrick, are you with us? Or maybe is this something Molly was trying to address because of a noise exemption? Or?
Mr. Hoover, if Eddie's not on the call, I can try on his behalf.
Okay, please.
All right. So essentially, we were contacted last week. Eddie, if I'm correct, his contracting company was awarded the project by NDOT. This is going to be a mill and overlay project along State Road 135 from Curry all the way down to Clary Road, kind of as shown on the map. There's also going to be a lot of ADA ramp improvement. Just due to the high traffic nature, NDOT actually contacted us earlier this year to see about potentially if the city would consider maybe nighttime work due to less traffic volume at night, so it's safer for the crews at night, but also less impact to the traveling public during the daytime. Just the one issue is the noise ordinance, and so that is what they were requesting. They were going to request permission to work after hours between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m.
How long, have they give you an estimate of how long it's going to take them to do that?
Yeah, I didn't have that pulled up right now. I'm trying to find an email with some of that information from NDOT. So give me,
Daniel, would all of the work be done after hours? Or is this just allowing flexibility to work after hours? Or do you know the answer to that?
through some of the emails and at least with our NDOT contact, and she said that most of it would be done at night. There would be the occasional need for a daytime lane closure. For example, they're making the ramp improvements and the real close proximity to the State Road 135 lane. But for the most part, I think it was all going to be at night.
Can those homeowners there, can they be notified in advance? Or how does that work? Or
I'm trying to think what's close. You got the apartments on the east side of 135.
and you get that big Ashwood development there too, off of Demery. They back right up to it.
How far, I guess I don't know where Clary Road's at, and I'm having a tough.
It's
South
out-
of Stone's Crossing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Most of
So
the property is commercial.
this is Molly. And they're already doing work. We live just north on 135 and they're already doing work. And there hasn't been a single time when we couldn't get in or out of our subdivision, which is just north of County Line Road. They do all the work at night. And it's really not been bad at all.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the noise issue.
Mm.
If it goes all that way, you're gonna have some of the, you got the golf course in there, you got,
A couple of retirement homes.
yeah.
So,
good.
Mr. Hoover, I kind of have some vague information, I guess, or at least preliminary information as of this past March. So the rough duration of construction they show as August through November. And I don't know if that's been refined since that time. And they were looking at potentially 5 or 6 nights a week.
And when they give you that time frame, they were talking about doing evening work as well?
Yes, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Well, it needs to be done. I suppose it's better than closing down a little bit more of the highway just in the daytime. I guess I have some concerns about the noise, but maybe there can be some.
Can there be some notifications made some way through the
Yeah.
city or newspapers, or I'm not sure how that would be done, but
Well, we
maybe
as the-
homeowners associations there, like at Ashwood, and go to San Jose neighborhood there.
Mr. Rutherford, we can check if that's part of NDOT's plan, do some sort of notifications. If not, the city, we can certainly post that on social media. I think that would be very easy and prudent.
I would move that we approve the request and ask that the city staff make proper notification if possible.
I'll second that.
And gentlemen, just to be clear, that's approving the noise exemption waiver and the request to work evening hours, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Colvin moves, seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Thank you, Daniel, for picking that up. Appreciate it. Is there anyone from the audience who's online that would like to address us? Hearing none, we'll move on to Mr. Hodson with the IDM compliance plan status update. Sam?
We are current with everything we own. IDM, our monthly report was our report was filed timely, and we have with them.
Great.
My first item on my task is consideration of the public works contract with Globe Asphalt Paving Company. This is to pave contract is 100.
Sam, you're breaking up, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I can't hear him either, or just barely.
Okay, I don't know what to do. Does this help?
This is better. That's better.
Okay. And IDM is fine. The first thing on my list is a contract with Globe Asphalt Paving Company, and this is to do work at the Cutzinger Road Salt Barn, and the amount of the contract is $125,000. And we request that if you approve this, that you also, in your motion, authorize the mayor to sign.
Questions for Mr. Hodson?
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford.
Second.
Mr. Colvin, second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously.
The next up is a letter from the Vectren Gas Company in which it is expressing in advance acceptance of a fence easement encroachment under certain terms and conditions. We request that the board work approve this rather than making homeowners go to the gas company for every request.
As a question, Sam, so when there's these 5 conditions that they want to have in there, those would all be checked by our staff anyhow, wouldn't they?
Yes, they appear to track the conditions we put on all the requests anyway.
Okay. And then I had a question about the technical language of the first one. The fence must be constructed by the owner or occupant of single-family residential property only. I'm assuming agents or people the owners hire would be included in that. I wouldn't have to go out and do my own thing. Okay.
No, that my interpretation of that is they are not approving in advance anything for multi-family or commercial buildings. I agree with your interpretation.
Okay. And so you're asking for a motion to approve this and accept this blanket approval?
Yes, we would use this letter in lieu of sending them out to get each fence approved by Vectren.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll move that we accept this, the Vectren conditions and make that a part of our application process, include that in that for when folks have encroachment issues. There's a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next up is consideration of contract for services with Underwood Tile and Carpet Company. This is a small contract for $3,270, and the purpose is to convert some area currently being used for storage into workstations.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Rutherford moves, seconded by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
My final item is in consideration for a code enforcement matter. We have a dead tree on a residential property at 418 West Main Street. They have tried for months to convince the owner to fall on traffic, causing personal for substantial value. We're the Board of Works to allow to remove the tree. We think the cost will be $2,000, and we would seek reimbursement from the owner.
Is that $2,000? Is that something we need to include in a motion if we approve it, or we just direct staff to move the tree and collect costs back from the property owner?
Yes, that number is not a firm number, so option B is better. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll move that we authorize staff to take all steps necessary to remove the tree and to charge the cost for that removal back to the property.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Thanks.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good evening. Dan, I think you're up next.
Yes, I have 2 items. The first is retreat section 2. That's really straightforward. It's really just the acceptance of the performance guarantees and acceptance of the inspection and testing agreement. And there are no conditions on this motion that we have for you.
Is there such a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Ruskin. Second by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, and then my last item is actually very similar to the other NDOT project. This one, NDOT also contacted us earlier this year. They're going to be doing some bridge repair work on State Road 135, right at the Fry Road intersection, which you can kind of see called out on the map that is on screen. NDOT has developed a couple of detour routes. One is County Line Road, certainly that's not jurisdiction of the city. The other is Smith Valley Road. And so NDOT provided us a letter of understanding, basically agreeing that NDOT would reimburse the city for any repairs to any damages that resulted from the detoured traffic during this time. They're not sure when the project will actually occur. It's going to be sometime between September and November. They're going to have it'll also be nighttime work. 2 nights of closure in each direction. So a total of 4 nights. And then, so as part of the request, or the recommended motion, it was going to be to approve the letter of understanding between NDOT and the city for their repair project, State Road 135, to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of understanding on the board's behalf, to authorize a waiver to comply with the requirements of the noise ordinance, to authorize the city staff to coordinate with NDOT in the future as needed for this project. And I have one more condition to add on in that to authorize permission for the contractor to work after hours from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
And they're saying that's a 4-night job?
That's correct. That's their anticipated duration. We just don't know when it will occur. Sometime between September and November. Certainly that's a wide calendar range. And yeah, if I'm sure NDOT will make some sort of a public notification, certainly the city, we'll do the same thing.
Okay. And the memo of understanding is what would address any repairs that might be necessary to any detoured route?
That's correct. Before the work is done, both NDOT and the city will have to agree on the damages and agree to the repairs, and then that will actually spur a more formal agreement document for the city to make the repairs and NDOT to reimburse the city.
And that's taking it down to Smith Valley Road?
Correct. So the traffic would use County Line Road, US 31, and Smith Valley Road. The through traffic will have to use that route.
And Main Street would not be an option?
We looked at a couple options, and they actually, I think they preferred Smith Valley Road. Certainly, I would recommend using Smith Valley Road versus Main Street.
Okay.
And due to the volume that it carries, it's a little easier.
Okay.
Daniel, could we document the condition of the road by videotaping it or something? Or how do you prove damage?
Right. Either we, the city, will do that, or the contractor may have to do that as well. It's certainly in the interest of both NDOT and the city to have the pre-work condition before it's format.
And then also as a follow-up, wouldn't it be prudent to go ahead and document the condition of Main Street in case, most people are familiar with Main Street being probably a little quicker cut through and would utilize Main Street and not utilize the official detour.
I suppose we can. The agreement actually states that the NDOT would reimburse us for repairs on the listed local detour. So
if more people use Main and damage it, then we're just out that money.
Potentially, yes.
Is that something you can bring up to them?
Say that again, sorry.
Is that something that you can maybe discuss with NDOT?
We can, yep, we can ask about the concern.
That would be my only concern.
Their proposal is based upon having signage that says detour is County Line Road and Smith Valley.
Yes.
wouldn't-
and-
Okay.
Yeah, and NDOT's going to set up all of the signage and do the coordination for the detour route.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of, as a practical matter, there's other ways to get into the 135 inside and, Winding Ridge and all those kind of neighborhoods there to cut through it, and rather than clear going down to Smith Valley or around to 31.
Yeah, people be going through Carefree North. Even south, probably, if they know that area.
Yeah. So, Daniel, you're asking for a motion that would approve a letter of understanding to be, with the terms to be determined by city engineering and city legal, I presume, and authorizing the mayor to sign on the board's behalf, the waiver of the noise ordinance, the allowing of after-hours work, and then there was coordination. I didn't quite understand that condition, the next to last condition you mentioned, Daniel.
Oh, if there was just any coordination that the city needed to do with NDOT as whenever this work actually begins, that we're able just to go ahead and coordinate it with you, whether it's any detour route changes, working hour changes, that type of thing.
Let you do your job, is what you're saying. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin.
I'll second it.
Mr. Rutherford, second it. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Daniel. Mr. Wright, I see you're with us. Do you have anything for us?
I don't have anything for you.
Well, thank you, Greg. We appreciate that. Mr. Rutherford, we have claims.
I will move for the approval of the claims as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Well, all, thank you very much. We'll stand adjourned at 6:11 p.m.
All right, guys. See ya.
Thanks,
Michael's
all.
will be downstairs in the morning.
Okay.
I wish we
Thanks,
could,
Amanda.
Thank
we
you.
could do
Good
something
night.
about the noise factor, the static or noise.
Yeah, I think sometimes when people come on,